Welcome back. The FBI has dropped a bombshell on the origins of COVID-19. The agency's director, Christopher Wray, says the virus most likely emerged from the infamous lab in Wuhan, China. Now, this is the first time a US agency has come close to confirming the lab leak theory. China has hit back at this assessment, saying it has shared more COVID data than any other country in the world. In fact, they are cracking down on anyone who's sharing the FBI's assessment. Elon Musk had retweeted news reports of the FBI director's statement. He was actually threatened by the Chinese state media earlier today. They said that such actions could endanger Mr. Musk's businesses in China. Our next report is telling you more about the latest flashpoint between America and China.
COVID-19, it brought our biggest cities to a standstill. It locked down millions of people inside their homes. Today, we have vaccines to beat this pandemic virus. But almost 3 years later, one question remains a mystery. Where did COVID-19 come from? The FBI in America have given a near-conclusive answer. It's the most definitive assessment released by an American agency since the pandemic began. FBI Chief Christopher Wray had this to say. The FBI has for quite some time now assessed that the origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan. It's not a new theory by any means. Ever since the strange cold/flu was reported in late 2019, many experts have made the same claim, that COVID-19 is a Chinese research experiment gone wrong. But coming from the FBI chief, it's a damning assessment, one that could derail the already tittering ties between America and China.
在溯源问题上，中方始终保持公开透明，同国际社会及时分享有关信息和数据。我们是迄今唯一多次邀请世界卫生组织国际专家组到本国开展新冠病毒溯源合作的国家。
The problem is, there is no proof yet. The FBI says most of the evidence they have is confidential and cannot be shared. Plus, within the US intelligence agencies, there's a clear difference of opinion. The Energy Department came to the same conclusion as the FBI last week. But the CIA, or the Central Intelligence Agency, remains unconvinced. This lack of consensus was admitted by the White House.
There is not a consensus right now in the U.S. government about exactly how COVID started. There is just not an intelligence community consensus.
The lab in Wuhan has been the subject of much intrigue. It's part of the Chinese Academy of Sciences and specializes in studying coronaviruses. Did one of those studies spiral out of control? Only a detailed and on-site investigation can give that answer. But something tells us Beijing won't be rolling out the red carpet.
Let me go straight across to Jennifer Zeng, who's an author and also a human rights activist, joining us on the broadcast. Jennifer, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. It's been more than 3 years. The Wuhan lab leak theory has often, by many, been dismissed as a fringe conspiracy theory. Now the FBI is saying it. They're saying it officially. It's something that you've held, you've maintained for the longest time now. What do you make of the FBI's so-called disclosures on the lab leak theory?
I believe the FBI must have access to some kind of, like they said, confidential information that the public haven't been able to see yet. Otherwise, I don't think they will make such a high-profile declaration that they believe it's mostly likely leaked from the lab. For me, it is not a surprise at all. I myself, like you said, have been maintaining this position for 3 years now. So that is, I think most people believe this also. But of course, the Chinese Communist Party has been very vigorously denying it. And I think that is one of the most a fundamental fear that the international world would find out. But because of the life and economic losses and consequences is beyond what they can bear to admit. So that's why they have been shut any channel for the international world to do any investigation. They know they are on their own.
But Jennifer, the fact is that forget the WHO, that has again been confused about which, on which side it stands. Even the US has been speaking in many voices. If you have the FBI director saying that he believes that COVID most likely was because of a lab leak in Wuhan, then you have the CIA saying completely the other thing, which is why no one is quite sure.
Yes, I think that's why we should keep exploring, keep asking, keep investigating. But the problem we know is the CCP is not given enough pressure to open their database, to open their site, and to open access to the international society. If we don't give them enough pressure, of course, they will be denying. They not only denying, they actually create misinformation, claiming the US is to be blamed, that the virus was brought to the US by the athletes, I think, attending the World Military Games in Wuhan in October, September 2019. So we call this, mixing the mother water. They just want to release enough misinformation to get everything messed up so that nobody can see clearly through the water. So I think the international world definitely can try more to give more pressure for the Chinese Communist Party to allow the international world to do investigation.
By the end of 3 years, we've lost 6.9 million people to COVID. So we certainly need to understand as a society where COVID originated. It's very important, given the death toll that the virus has taken. Jennifer, China, of course, is calling the FBI's statement political manipulation. I want to ask you, has the question about the origin of COVID now become more political than scientific?
I think it's both. For the CCP, I think Chinese Communist Party, it has indeed become a political crisis for itself, because from the very beginning, it has been covering up the outbreak. If it had not, the problem, the damage, the losses to the world would not be that huge. So it knows it's already committed this kind of crime of covering up the pandemic. And if this is fully exposed, and if the world seek compensation and held its accountable, it will become a political crisis for its regime, and also its own people suffered so much. And its mishandling of the situation, like the insane lockdown, and then they suddenly lift up of the lockdown, causing many elderly people dead. So all this has indeed become a political crisis for the regime. But of course, at the same time, is still a scientific problem if we don't understand how this virus came into being and how it get from the lab or from whatever orange it is and onto the people. We could encounter the same kind of problem in the future. But the problem is in China, because the Chinese Communist Party is the only ruling party, and it will politicize everything, including scientific public, even a political sports event can be a political achievement or failure for it. So it politicizes everything. So in China, you can hardly have anything, or you can hardly separate science from politics, because the only ruling party regard everything that as a threat or a achievement, a glorified element for its regime. So everything is related to its regime, to its power. So that's why it's hard to separate the science from politics of this issue now.
Jennifer, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. Good to have you on the issue. The FBI has, as we said, dropped a bombshell, but there has been no consensus, even within the US and its agencies, about where COVID-19 originated. Jennifer, thank you very much for joining us.